Oh, hello. Sorry I'm running a bit late, but it's your fault. So, the gathering has called me to be here. It is always, yes. Pew and Bear gets it. See, he's Polish, so he knows it's always his fault. I went to SG just briefly and I see Kurgan status change. Going live now, and it's all your fault. Took it personally, as always. It is. I guess we'll see. Right, well, there's quite a few of you already in here. That's good. More than the apostles. So, this is actually a point of Catholic theology which doesn't get talked about, and you're going to be filing this one under 3D thinking. The Gammas are going to freak out because they're going to say that it's all hypocrisy. So are the Protestants, so are all the other heretics. However, what I mean by it's always your fault, I was pretty much raised that way, which I caught on at a pretty early age. By my early teens, I'd figured out that although a lot of people would think my dad's way of doing things was very harsh or whatever, and it was, quite often probably unfair and wrong and what have you. So I'm not denying that aspect of it, but overall, the concept, if you live with the idea that whatever goes wrong in your life, whatever doesn't quite work out, it's you, right? Stop blaming everybody else. Now, for those of you who have a very fragile ego, can't accept responsibility for anything that goes wrong in your life, say like if your name is Owen Benjamin or one of these other people, then, I don't know, you might want to switch the stream off because your self-esteem may be impacted. And those kind of weak-ass people I don't want anywhere near me anyways. The point of it's always your fault doesn't necessarily mean it is technically, by legal principle or whatever, actually your fault. What it means is it's a results-based way of thinking. It's an effect-based way of thinking. So, and it's taken, my wife and I quite a while to coordinate this kind of thing. And, kids or whatever, they were like, do this, clean your room or whatever. Oh, I couldn't because. I don't care. Oh, but I couldn't open the tap because there's a bee. I don't care. Not my problem. Is your room clean? Oh, but my dog died. And? So what? It's a results-based way of thinking. Now, you think, oh, but that's kind of harsh and that's unfair. Yeah. Guess what? Life's harsh. Life's unfair. So if you get trained to think that whatever goes wrong in your life, say you get deplatformed from a bunch of places, well, whose fault is it? Yours. What are you going to do about it? Is that it? You give up? There's the difference between results-oriented and, oh, but, I have this excuse. And I think we are moving into territory where your excuses are not going to save you. So, again, when the Nazi stops you and you don't have your papers, what are you going to do? Just calmly walk into the cattle train? Fight back? Make sure you have the papers? Make sure you have some good enough papers? It's up to you. You gotta hit that. Now, yes, and Pew and Bear makes a very valid point, which I was going to get to, but he got there before I got it. The whole point of atheists and Jews, let's not forget the Jews, like to make fun of the Catholic guilt. Oh, mea culpa, mea culpa. Oh, you guys always just whipping yourselves. And that is, again, like you guys worship Mary. It's the Protestant / Pharisee way of trying to, put a wedge between the badly catechized nominal Catholic / Churchan and reality. The fact is that mea culpa is a very good way of thinking, and in every Mass that's what you do. Mea culpa, mea maxima culpa. It's my fault, my maximum fault. Why? Because it is. You are the one that's sinning. You are the one that's doing whatever. Now you're saying, oh, but what if I'm driving along and a drunk crashes into me? Yeah. Now, most people say, well, he had no fault. I agree in the legal terms that he had no fault. However, if you were more switched on, if you were more aware, if you were more situationally aware, you would have realized that that car was moving wrong and, maybe you could have avoided it. Is that always the case? No. And I speak from personal experience because I very, very nearly, probably within, I would say less than 1/10 of a second, came within being very, very, very dead. Because I was going home at 2 in the morning in my little red Toyota, and a guy in a Range Rover, and it was on a blind stop street, so there was a stop sign, but the road is blind. There was a stop sign for oncoming traffic, not for me. I had right of way. I had no stop sign, no lights, nothing. I was like on the main road, and it was so sudden. And I've got very good reflexes, and at that time, even better reflexes than I have now. I was like 26. I was training every day. I could catch flies when they were going past. With the toothpicks. No, not quite, but good reflexes, good situational awareness. I was working armed daily, so I was switched on. And all I can tell you about that incident is that I heard the crunching and some lights. And as my head, imagine this hit me at speed. A guy with a Range Rover didn't even touch the brake. He just, boom, he was flying, and he just impacted the front of the car, the engine block of the car. Now, the amount of time it takes for me to go from driving to your head bumping the side of the stanchion of the thing, in that moment, before I hit my head, I was like, whoa, this is a bad one. What the hell is it? And, I've got a good sense of humor, so I remember the thought in my head so quickly going, whoa, I have no idea. This could even be a Buffalo with spotlights for all I know. I know it's got lights on it. And I hit the head, and this Range Rover went to take out, the whole engine block of my car was sprayed over 30 meters of road. He went across the road, took out the stop sign on the opposite side, and took out the corner of a retaining wall of a house. So it's like he was, if I'd been hit 1/10 of a second later, he would have hit me in the door. I'd be dead. Did I see it coming? Could I have done anything different? No, nothing. I could have done nothing different. Now, the fact that it's always your fault doesn't mean that you have to feel guilt about it. I felt no guilt about that, and it wasn't a good experience. I still have a click in my neck because of that, and it was whatever. But the point is, you could look at it as, well, why were you driving home at 2 in the morning? Well, because I had a girlfriend that was across town, and I was going back to my place, and but if you weren't, living in that condition, in that situation, you maybe wouldn't have been, around at 2 in the morning, and that wouldn't have happened. So you could always go back to it's your fault. You could always find a way that it's your fault. Now, again, that doesn't mean that you live with guilt. As most of you know, I don't look like a guy who carries a lot of guilt, and I don't. Because you have to understand that, yes, it's always your fault, but you've got to move on. Bitch on your own time. When am I going to sit down and really have a good look at all the guilty shit that I'm really guilty for properly? You do throughout your life. Of course, there are moments and times when you realize you've done wrong and so on. But that's what purgatory's for, pretty much, And I hope I spend as little time in purgatory as possible. But unfortunately, I feel it's likely that I probably am going to spend some time there. Right. Michael Pecker says, I'm sorry, it's my fault. Never apologize. Can you forgive me, Grand Inquisitor? Well, no, because you cardinal sin there. You just weakly said, I'm sorry. No, that's not good enough. Yes, Amanda Joan gets it. She says, salve, non desistas, non existias. Hello, never give up, never surrender. That's exactly right. Never give up, never surrender. But I would add something to that, which is, never give up, never surrender is a very much a karate martial art way of thinking, Japanese, I would add, and survive. Survive it. Survive whatever's going on. Don't give up, don't surrender, but survive. Very important. Pew and Bear says, atheists love to mock mea culpa, mea maxima culpa. Yes, of course. David Perkins says, what prompted this? Am I missing the context? No, what prompted it was just conversations that I've been having with my wife and the kids and stuff. That's what I was thinking about. Like when I was busy putting up a couple of posts and things today, and I was thinking how to explain that, because for me it's instinctive. I was raised that way, and it is pretty much that way. And women in general have a tendency to say, oh, but I couldn't because, and I couldn't do this because of that. Kids have it, I couldn't do this because of that. And a lot of metrosexuals have it, oh, I couldn't do this because, and it's always somebody else's fault. No, just get it done. If you know that you have to go from A to B, it doesn't matter what happens in between. You say, oh, but I was stopped by the police. Oh, but my car tire blew out. Oh, but I didn't have the thing to change the tire when it blew. So what? So what? You had to do this thing by that time. Sort it out. Make sure you do it. Get there. Call a taxi. Get an Uber. Steal a car. Whatever. It's like, I'm not telling you to go steal cars, right? I'm just saying, you gotta, it doesn't matter what happens, because also put it in context, into the larger context of global situation, blah, blah, blah. What do you think? That, let's say, it does get really bad. It gets to like civil war status, and you have to fight off like guys who are, sending, I don't know, death squads to your house to like forcibly inject you with the not vaccine. What are you going to do? Go like, oh, well, I guess I'll just have to take the vaccine. I mean, there's 6 of them. So, reload. You know what I mean? It's like you're always going to have something that's going to get in your way. That's life. Now, the other side of the coin to that, which is the thing I need to work on personally. I don't need to work on, oh, it's my fault. Oh, get on. No, I grew up that way. It's like, whatever. Shit happens, and it's like, oh, well, but now we can't carry on. And I'm like, if somebody's with me, I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? Of course we carry on. But your tire blew out. You don't have a way to change the tire. Well, there's a rock over there, and we can hit the bolts enough, we can change the tire. But how do you keep the car up? Well, I'll lift it real hard, put some bricks under it. There's always a way. I'll find a way. So, but the other side of the coin is that it's wrong for you to like live expecting that. So like, okay, I'm gonna go there, and then something happens, I'm ready to fight it, because then you're always in fight mode. You're always you're always tense. You're always like stressed out. That's not good either. That's why the Systema philosophy is great, because it's like, well, I'm just going there and I'm going to do this thing and it's going to work out great. Oh, some guy's trying to stab me. Oh, well, let me just boop back, hit him, take the knife out of, finish, move on, go to the next thing. Oh, well, my car tire blew out. Oh, that's okay. I'll hit your lift. That's cool. So you've got to stay positive. You've got to stay relaxed. And at the same time, you've got to deal with whatever comes your way. So again, very, 3D thinking type stuff. So let's see. I'll read a couple of comments. Hail Kurgan, LS16. Hello. Yeah, that's right. Oh, David Perkins said what prompted this. Oh, I don't know. How might be because I said Owen. It's just like, people like that. They just blame everybody else for whatever happens to them, and it's like, dude, just get on with life. Do your thing. And I'm going on. The reason I mentioned Owen is just because a good example. The whole Trinity thing. Oh, the Catholics are coming after me. Dude, you've been blaspheming for months and months and months and months. You're a blasphemer, and no, you're not a Christian. And as I did in my video, yeah, you're a Noahide law Talmudic Jew. That's what you're doing. That's what you're promoting. That's everything that you're doing fits with that. As far as I'm concerned, Owen Benjamin is a Talmudic Pharisee. That's it. That's what he's doing. And, that's fine. That's fine for him to be that. I prefer he wasn't, but, the fact that he's that, it's okay. Just be honest about it, I will have more respect for somebody who actually says what he does and does what he says, rather than just changes his tune every 5 minutes. Typos are my fault. I know keyboard. See, Pionberg gets it. Typos are my fault. I know keyboards the way it works. And the grammar's fucked up. But he's Polish, he can't help that. Van Boon Helker, did you ever have any association with executive outcomes or Sandland from your days on the Dark Continent? Executive outcomes were good for what they did. Unfortunately, Simon Mann is not as smart as he thought he was. And so he kind of screwed up with that whole Zimbabwe thing, which, by the way, what happened with executive outcomes was Simon Mann was being funded by Margaret Thatcher's son, to go to, I think it's I don't remember the full name. I think it's called the Equatorial, I don't want to lie to you now. It's a tiny little African country that I think is called Equatorial something or other, and there's Equatorial Guinea, which there are two countries that sound similar. There's one I think is in South America and one is in Africa, and it's got like I think pretty much a dictator or president for life, or African chieftain or whatever. It's got a tiny population, and the disparity of wealth there is absurd. It's African. But the place apparently has oil. So what executive outcomes was supposed to go and do with a small mercenary force was go there, do a coup, take out the main leader of the country, take it over, put in their puppet guy, and get a deal on the oil. Now, a lot of people think, well, that's just like fucking wrong, and that whole plan is evil. But as far my understanding of it, and I didn't look into this very deeply, by the way, the leader of that country is a pretty brutal scumbag. You take him out, you put in a puppet guy, and you export the oil or whatever, and you raise the standard of living of everybody. You pass better laws. So is that terrible? Is that so evil? The problem is that Simon Mann filled up his plane with guns and mercenary, or rather filled up his plane with mercenary, filled up another plane with guns, and then they met in Zimbabwe to do the pickup, and that's where he got arrested, and they all ended up in jail. Like, why the hell would you do that? If you're in South Africa, you've got all your mercs from South Africa, load them up on a plane, get the guns in South Africa, and go direct to where you're going to do the coup. He was obviously shopped out, sold out. I don't know the whole story of exactly what happened. But in terms of what they did, while they were operating, they were like pretty good. I mean, I remember there was like a bunch of farmers that were getting, they did a documentary on this at the time, actually. There was a bunch of farmers that were getting their cattle stolen and rebranded and so on. And it was like, they're on the border with, I can't remember if it was Lesotho or something. And it's like then they go, they recognize the cow, and they've got their own marking on it, and their marking has been changed to somebody else's marking. So it's like, legal things in Africa don't work. It's cross borders, blah, blah, blah. And I was just looking at this, and I thought, all it takes is two guys that patrol that area. And that's exactly what executive outcomes did. They went to all the farmers, and they said, we can stop all your cows from being kidnapped, stolen, whatever. You'll never have a problem with your cow. So about 7 of these farmers got together and paid a retainer fee every month, which was, pretty hefty fee. And what did executive outcomes do? Did they put up a bunch of fences? No, they put 2 guys. A sniper and a spotter. Now, I don't know whether they shot anybody. I don't know whether anybody found any bodies anywhere. But what I can tell you is that those 7 farmers never had a single cow go missing again. Because, hey, if some guy is trespassing from another country into your border to steal your stuff and he just happens to disappear, or maybe, because we had some personal experience with this, my dad was working for a guy that had a farm on a board at one point, and we used to get poachers. We used to, I used to go hunting with my dad, and we'd find like snares and stuff. And it's, apart the fact that it's a pretty cruel way of hunting and shitty way of hunting with snares and stuff, we're not those, we don't agree with that way of doing things. But it's also on somebody else's land, and it's from another country. But so, my dad used to patrol and stuff, and whenever he caught these guys, he used to make them all strip naked and then run across the border naked to the other side. Within about a month or two of him being the manager of this huge tract of land, no more snares, no more poaching on that farm. It's and he didn't kill anybody. He just sent them back in their birthday suit. It's quite a trip in Africa if you're doing that in the bush for a few miles. So I hope that answers your question, Dan. Okay, Amanda Jones says, same with Mike Lowry of, Champions of the Light. Yes, Mike Lowry is a retard. He's an idiot. He's a Protestant. He's a Gnostic. He has been cursing out all the Catholics on the page, including me. He's an admin, so no one can block the demon. I am pretty sure it counts to be bad. Mike Lowry is a moron. He's just, I don't know. I like James. I like James Fox Higgins, but I don't know why he teamed up with that moron for so long. And he has taken down all those streams. So, he's getting to it. He's got some Irish in there. Eventually we'll get into proper Christianity, i.e. Catholicism. Gabriel says, I asked on SG, but maybe you can answer that here instead. What are your thoughts on Siam Rai, heretical or not? As far as I know, Siam Rai are good priests. One of my most loyal henchmen, I believe he attends Mass with Siam Rai priest. I know there was some controversy here and there. I don't know what it is, but as far as I'm aware, they reject everything connected to Vatican II. So I don't know. If you got some further details on that you want me to answer, I can answer based on principle. I can't answer based on personal knowledge because I haven't met these particular priests. Pew and Bear says, I don't think you can be brilliant in anything being constantly tensed. It's the same with playing instruments, singing, or martial arts. Yes, exactly. You can't be good at anything if you're constantly tense. I've seen this with people at work. I've seen this in many areas of life. You have to just go with the flow. And now I'm pretty good at that generally. But as I'm spending a lot more time doing physical stuff, and I'm becoming, again, it's like when I train regularly, it's like you become aware of your like body, little aches, pains, and like weaknesses or whatever. And it's like, oh, okay, I'm losing kind of sensation in my fingertips. Why is that? Oh, because, okay, I'm using my hands a lot. No, it's because there's tension here that is related to that injury. Okay, so that's clicking up my neck. Or why is that? Okay, I need to do some push-ups. And then I start to realize, oh, there's also quite a bit of tension because I'm thinking constantly throughout the day about 30 different things that are all moving targets that I have to like deal with. And I was like, okay, now that and it was a very subconscious level thing. So, okay, realize that, now switch, change, I make a list of 3 things I need to do in a day, and that's it. I just do those 3 things. If I hit those 3 things, it's a good day. That's it. And also another thing that helped me is I wrote down just a list. I'm trying to keep some kind of a diary because there's so much stuff going on that it's like I'm going to forget. Like I said, I need to write my autobiography as a trilogy in 3 parts every 30 years, issue a book. And I'm 51 now, so I kind of missed that first book slot. I've already forgotten half the shit I've done there. And I just listed, literally bullet point list, like the things that we've done since I got here. I filled in 3 pages. And I'm talking about stuff like, fix all roof leaks. That's like one item, you know. You can appreciate something like that, or you know, whatever, prune olive trees, and we've only done 110, you know, but that's one item. So each one of these items can take like a week to do or whatever. And I filled in 3 pages of stuff, and I'd forgotten things like, you know, I've set up the, you know, whatever, put the furniture in the room, finish a room. We've painted the kitchen, almost finished. I've done all the ceiling, all the beams. I need to do like the detailing, and I need to do the surrounding walls for when the kitchen eventually arrives, because we're still living, you know, like a little bit of an encampment type setup with a temporary sink and so on. There's so much stuff to do that invariably it's going to sit on your head. But it's at the same time, I'm like, and then I'm stressing because I'm not playing enough with my kids. And I'm like, you know, my little boy comes up to me and I'm like, dude, I have to finish this. Or the girl, and you know, and I'm, you know, the baby she is the most awesome. She was always happy, always smiling, always enthusiastic about anything, and she's great. If she stays like that, she's probably gonna be my favorite child. No, I love them all the same. No, but you know what I mean. Okay, let's see. Oh, somebody says, Gabriel, I bet you get this take from the Demon Brothers. I don't have a take at all, which is why I asked. Yeah. Demon Brothers need to fix their audio before I can bother to figure out what they think. David Perkins. The Demon Brothers have they've got its Most Holy Catholic Monastery, or Most Holy Family, something like that. I can't remember now. But I reference them quite a lot in my book, Reclaiming the Catholic Church. And I quite like, they get a lot of things right. There are some bits and pieces that I think, no, okay. Like they don't believe in baptism of desire and baptism of blood. But I've written to them on it and they haven't replied. So I think I'm right, and they dodged answering that one. So, and Douglas Jones says, I attend CMRI as well, and yes, they're proper said. Yeah, I'm not aware of anything that makes me think that the CMRI guys are not proper priests. So, Brad Ball says, my buddy has become a Muslim, but I'm not a knowledgeable Catholic, so I can't convince him otherwise. Well, you don't have to be a knowledgeable Catholic to figure out that Islam is satanic. Just point out to him that Muhammad married a 6-year-old and stuck his 54-year-old dick in a 9-year-old for sure. That's in their books that he did that. My own Muslim friend tells me that there are passages where it says that the Prophet came out with cum stains from, you know, doing little boys and little girls. I don't know. I haven't read that passage in the Hadiths or whatever. Read the Quran, and you'll see what it tells you about how you should treat anyone who's not a Muslim. You have to pretend to be their friend, but never, ever, ever actually be their friend at all. It's a satanic religion as far as I'm concerned. And their own stories will tell you that you know, Muhammad was spoken to by a demon inside a cave. So, well, there you go. Pure and Bear says the whole thing is about baptism of desire and blood and no salvation out of the church. Well, but that's true. I did this stream, I think it was 148 or something. It's got the picture of like a devil woman on the front, and it says that you're all going to hell. It's actually a very good little video that I did there, because it explains exactly, yes, there is absolutely no salvation outside the Catholic Church. Because again, imagine you lived around the time of Jesus, right? You believe Jesus was the guy, you saw him get crucified, you saw him get resurrected, you saw him ascend. You're convinced, this is it, Jesus is the guy. What do you call yourself? You're not going to call yourself a Baptist. You're not going to call yourself an evangelist. You're not going to call yourself a, you know, Anglican. You're a Christian. And you've got a pope. You've got bishops, and there's one bishop that's the head of all the other bishops. That guy's in Rome. His name is Peter. Then he dies, another guy takes over. And let's say that you're a really well lived guy. You live 500 years. And what do you see from the time of Jesus to the time of the year 500? Have you got popes? Yeah, you do. Do they have primacy over all the other bishops? Yes, they do. First among equals. Well, no. Do you have the Mass? Well, yes, you do. Is the Mass the same way that it's done now? Well, yes, it is. Is the Bible being put together? Yeah, about 200 years ago. You're now year 500. 200 years ago, they put the Bible together. And that's what you read. And what do you call yourself? Well, a Christian. What kind of Christian? Well, Catholic. Why? Because Catholic means universal. We're all the same. There is no other religion. That's it. That is Christianity. Catholicism is Christianity. That's it. So if you're outside of that church, yeah, you don't get saved. Now, if we've got all these other denominations, these fake churches that came up afterwards, and you say, oh, but was saved, always saved. No, you're not. You're a heretic and you're probably going to burn. But the thing is, it is absolutely true that there's no salvation outside the Catholic Church. But, as my priest explained, you have to consider, what does it mean to be part of the Catholic Church? Exactly. It means being a Christian. Now, what does that mean? Well, it means that you want to be a Christian. You believe the Catholic Church is telling you the truth and it's mostly, correct. Individuals in the church can be twisted, corrupt, wrong, evil, whatever. But overall, you are a Christian, and by believing in Jesus and God and all the precepts of the Catholic Church, you will stand a chance of probably going to purgatory and or heaven if you're a really saintly guy. They say, oh, but you have to be baptized. The church says you have to be baptized, otherwise you don't get in. That's not actually correct. The church says that you have to be Catholic, and God has determined that, not man. There's no man can really determine that. That's why the deprivationists are saying we are not going to call the heretic popes actually technically heretical. And I disagree with that, because I'm saying, no, they are heretical. They behave like heresy. They have done heresy. Therefore, they are heretical. Now, if in their heart of hearts, they are really deep down believing everything, but whatever, they've got a gun to their head and they have to do all this satanic shit, I don't care. You have to treat them as heretics anyways. That is the rule of the church. So I am correct in my behavior towards them, and make no mistake, the deprivationist priests do treat these people as complete heretics. They just won't. The only difference between me and one of our Catholic priests is that they won't actually call Bergoglio a full-on heretic. I do, and I believe he is much worse than that. I also think he's a Satanist and a pedophile protector. Well, I don't think I know. It's self-evident. It is a form of politeness and dignity and so on, and charity. It is primarily a point of charity, that it is okay for clerics to have. I'm not a cleric. I'm not of that caste. I am of the physical arm of the church, and that kind of stuff doesn't fly with me. So what they're discussing is, take a guy who really wants to be Catholic, he's seen the light, and he's on the way to get baptized, and he gets run over by a bus before he gets there. His fault, right? You should have figured that out first. That's parenthesis. But in God's eyes, because God is merciful, he's not going to be like, oh, yeah, he did everything right, he lived a good life, yeah, you didn't know anything about Jesus because, yeah, great, excellent, good father, good, oh, but he didn't get baptized in time. Oh, oops, sorry, going straight to hell. That's not how God operates, right? So it's like, no, he was truly Catholic. He just physically didn't get the chance to get baptized, but his desire was there. His intention was there. He didn't tarry about. He wasn't like, well, I'm going to have a McDonald's burger and while I think about it. And he dies before he can get that done. That counts. It is assumed that God is merciful and will take that person into purgatory, heaven, whatever. I hope that explains it. But if you want the details on it, go and find the video where it's got the picture of this devil woman with like a satanic thing, and it says you're all going to hell, something like that. So it explains. I've explained it before, so that's why I'm leading you to that one. Poo and Bear says, oh, by the way, You know who else wasn't baptized and is in heaven? The good thief, which, by the way, they weren't just thieves, they were robber, brigand, murderers. The guy that was crucified next to Jesus, who Jesus said, "Tonight you will be with me in heaven." He wasn't baptized. And the Dimon brothers have a special little loophole for saying why that guy is excused, but, to me that's just nonsense. Act 17 apologetics on YouTube. Protestants, but go hard over Muslim stuff. Yeah, okay. Brad Bowles, don't let him get too close if sharp implements are involved. So David Perkins advises Brad to not let your friend get too close if there are sharp implements around. LS16 says CMRI had bad actors a long while back. They have been purged and dealt with. CMRI is solid. That's my take on it as well. Brad asks for details. I don't know. Maybe somebody could point Brad to the details of the, I don't know. Yes, they did. I agree. They dealt with it. And they're a good place to go. Surmer Sirbek. But Vatican II is not Catholic. No, it's not. It's satanic. Saramer must be new here. So that's where we got the down vote. 13 up votes, 1 down vote. Sort of balances out. So that was my take on, it's all your fault. Try and live with that idea that everything that goes wrong, it's down to you, and that, you should have done better. At the same time, don't be a little wuss that like, oh, mea culpa, and like totally whips himself all the time and says, oh, and just bows his head. You can be wrong, you can be guilty, you can be a bad dude, and you can still stand up when it's right to stand up and walk with your head up when it's time to walk with your head up. Pick your times, bitch on your own time, whine on your own time, self-whip with your cat of nine tails on your own time. Don't make a big drama out of it where you're like slowing everybody else up. There you go. That's a very good point. Thanks for reminding me, because that's actually that's the name of the saint I took, Adrian of Nicomedia. He wasn't baptized either. He just said, I'm going to be one of these guys. And he was put to death, before it could be properly baptized or anything, because he was put to death then and then. He was captain of the guard. So that's kind of why I picked that guy as well, because ballsy dude. Yeah, so that, I hope that covers that topic. Is there, if there's any questions on whatever topic? The funny thing is there's been some gammas getting purged from Social Galactic, which is quite hilarious, really. And they always out themselves in the end. But hello, Chris. Oh, pardon me. A little bit tired. And it's actually not super astonishingly late. So, let me just quick. Equatorial Guinea. There you go. One of my most loyal henchmen. Equatorial Guinea was the place that the Executive Outcomes was going to do the thing. Oh, and another little interesting tidbit. On the cover of my book, which I think I have here, again, the free plug of my own book for myself, because that's the kind of grifting I'm doing. See this, the Marcian lion. It's called the Marcian lion because it is the lion of St. Mark. It is the symbol of one of the apostles, Mark, and one of my most loyal henchmen mentions that each one of the apostle had an animal sort of, or an image representative. So, for example, John, the apostle John, had the eagle. Luke had the ox, and Matthew had man. So, and each relation has a meaning, and there is also, by the way, a meaning in, there are things that's why this is where the Protestants are going to say, you see, it's all paganism, because there were 12 apostles, there are 12 signs of astrology, there are 4 cardinal signs, there are 4 apostles, because these things sort of repeat, you know. Um, so and each one also has apparently a philosophical meaning. And one of the loyal henchmen here is saying, like, each one has a relation and a meaning. I would suggest that, I don't know what the meaning is technically, I haven't looked it up, but Saint Mark being the lion is because he was just like, I don't know, if you're Venetian, you kind of get it. It's kind of like, well, just charge on, you know, take it on full on. Like Mark's gospel is one of the shortest ones, and he just gets on with it, sort of thing. He says the only one he recalls is that John is the eagle because his gospel is the one that looks the farthest. It's being the most philosophical. And yeah, so that was an interesting little tidbit. And how do I meet women? I'm 18 and the only seemable options right now is Tinder. Everything is closed in my area. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with online dating, dude. I don't know if, you know, you might want to maybe spend a couple of bucks and go on a slightly more detailed, perhaps, online dating site. But yeah, whatever, you know, if you're gonna use Tinder, then use Tinder. That it's a way to meet somebody. You don't decide whether you're gonna marry them by, you know, by swiping left or right or whatever it is. And it is, to a certain extent, you know, that's another topic actually that I discussed with my most loyal henchman. We'll call him Scout. Yeah, what I was discussing with Scout was like, look, in the end of it, it's a numbers game. Now, if you're a hedonistic, you know, heathen like I was, it's a numbers game because, well, you meet dozens of women, you bang dozens of women, and you end up staying with the ones that, you know, you get on with the most and bug you the least, and good in bed, or whatever criteria you're looking for, or good mothers, blah blah blah. But again, without a solid foundation on reality, on Catholicism, it's eventually going to go bad, pretty much, even if they are good people, and even if you're a good guy, because there is ultimately no foundation. After about 25 years of, you know, wearing each other down, you're going to be like, I'm kind of bored of your face, your whole body, and what you do with it, you know, sort of thing. If you are Catholic, if there is a solid foundation under it, there are so many more things that add to, you know, fine, she's pretty, she's great in bed, she's a good mom, and she's smart, she's funny, all good, but also she understands how to be a Catholic woman, and that stuff melts you, you know, and she understands how to help me be a better Catholic man, Catholic husband, and that is good. And then you see how she is with the kids, and how she raises them, and the things that she does for them, the things that she does for you, makes you want to do more for her and for them and for everybody. Then she begins to, you know, she also respects what you're doing and understands what you're doing, even though you're just maybe working like a donkey and don't really, you don't make a fuss about it or anything, but she picks up on it, and she says, you know, thanks for that. And then you start to pick up on all the things that she does that maybe you don't even notice, and then you say thanks for that. And there's a whole much deeper relationship with that. But it is still a numbers game. And I was saying, you know, he was also asking me directly or indirectly for a bit of advice. And I was like, look, there are essentially 2 options, you know. Either you're 18, you meet a nice girl, you do all the right Catholic things, and you lead her to Catholicism, or maybe she's already there, if you can find a Sede girl in that godforsaken gay land of Canada that you're in, I think. Good luck to you. But if that's the case, then great. Stay with her, have kids with her early, and you're going to have your whole life together, because you haven't tasted from the forbidden fruit everywhere else. And even if you watch porn, I don't know, if you have a good relationship with her, you maybe you watch the porn together and you go, oh, that's disgusting. or oh, that's I want to try that out. You know, that position I haven't done it before. Whatever, I don't know. That's like your sex life. Don't ask me about the correct sexual behavior for a Catholic in his marriage, because I'll probably tell you something wrong. I don't know. But well, the alternative is, if you were like I was, you've done everything that moves and has two legs and looks pretty, whether you can communicate with it verbally or not, and then you go full circle, because you like go through all these different types of women, and from the sluttiest to the saintly and blah blah blah, and then you're sort of like, okay, none of those things excite me anymore. None of those things are a curiosity for me anymore. I've been through all of it. And if some super hot stripper that says, oh, imagine how the 10 different ways I can make you orgasm just using my left earlobe and my toe or whatever, you're like, yeah, got 3 t-shirts in the cupboard, I'm okay. So you go full circle, because then you get back to what matters. And so it's just a numbers game, whichever way you're at. It's a numbers game. If you haven't gone through a lot of women, well, maybe try not to. Maybe just find the right one, make sure that she's good, and that's it. And now people are going to say, oh, but if you do that, you ruin your whole life. Guess what? If you're each other's first, you don't know any better. She doesn't know any better. And if you grow up together from age 18 to age 28, you've gone through so much stuff that you're like, well, I'm going to leave you now because she's got bigger tits? You're not really going to do that, hopefully. Especially not if you're Catholic, because you're like, yeah, actually it's all right, I can role play that you got bigger boobs or whatever. I don't know, but what I'm saying is, like, your relationship is going to be based on hopefully much more fundamentally important things, and you will be aware that you're surrounded by absolute filth everywhere you look. You can walk down the road in Italy and look at an advert for, it doesn't matter what it could be an advert for children's toys, and you'll have some sexy woman leaning over playing with the toys of the boy, which is, you can see half of her boobs, and she's got her short skirt tied up, and she's the sexy mummy. So there's going to be all these attractions, all these temptations, all these things. But if you see it for what they are, you're like, yeah, okay, well, whatever, I don't need that. And if you're raised, and if you raise yourself, and if you put yourself in that thing where you start off with a strong base, you won't necessarily be swayed. The problem is for the guy who's halfway. So he's tasted of the forbidden fruits, but not all of them. He's had kiwi, apple, and pear, but he doesn't know what mango tastes like. And mango's kind of sexy, and everybody tells him mango tastes real good. He says, well, I haven't eaten the apple because I know that's bad. I'm not going to go and eat an apple, but a mango, is it really wrong to eat a mango? And then that guy's got a problem. And he's like, but I want to be Catholic, but I haven't tasted a mango. Well, I've got baptized now. There's that mango again, just walking past me. I'm still single. I haven't really partook of the mango. And your eye might start to stray. That's the guy that's going to have some problems, because he truly does believe in being Catholic, but he gets swayed because he's already corrupt enough to be swayed, and not so corrupt that it's like, nah, it's just a mango. I've had mangoes in every orifice of my body, together with kiwis and, pears. And then it's like, I met women online quite a lot. I had quite a lot of relationships with girls that I met online. One of the most disastrous ones, I met her online. My second ex-wife. Clearly that didn't go well, but but I thought it was the right person. You can meet nice people. You can meet. It's like anything. Again, it's a numbers game, and it allows you to quickly sift through for at least the superficial stuff. Now, here's the other thing. Everybody wants the nymphomaniac supermodel, good Catholic girl that, has never done any of the filthy things with anyone else, but is super willing to do them with you. And who's also a good mom, has got an above average IQ, but not as high as yours, and you're a really smart guy. And, and look, I've pretty much hit that jackpot as far as I'm concerned, and I've been with a lot of very, attractive, intelligent women, whatever. But the thing is, if that's your focus, that wasn't particularly my focus. That's just what I was attracted to, and that's what I went towards, but it wasn't like she has to have these tick boxes. It's like, I don't know, if you like stracciatella ice cream, well, you're going to eat a lot of stracciatella ice cream. And you don't like lemon ice cream, you're not going to eat any lemon ice cream, and that was kind of how it kind of was for me. The physical appearance aspect, etc., was important to me. I know that as you get older and whatever, everybody, becomes decrepit slowly. So it was never fundamental, but it had to be there, at least for me to be originally interested. And there has to be a certain level of beauty. Beauty is a thing that, I appreciate. And I don't want to live with somebody that I find unattractive, no matter how good their personality is, and that was one of my online profiles actually said that. It said, oh, and by the way, no matter how sparkly your personality is, if you look like Mother Teresa, especially Mother Teresa now, she's been dead a few years, I don't care. Don't get in touch with me. You have to have, so, it's brutal in my approach as always, but so you have to, it's hard. You're at war. You're in a field of war. You got to be smart. Fight smart is best advice I can give you. I've done videos on finding a good wife and all that, so look for them. I think 26 or 36, I can't remember. So I hope that helps your question a bit. Amanda Jones says, I don't think I have ever witnessed a flame war, but watching the Kurgan for some time now has prepared me. I like to be in a Christian online community, especially now during this pandemic. Well, I think, I can't remember if you are in the Kurgan Telegram group, but yeah, if you want to get in there. I think you're on Social Galactic, so you probably are, I can't remember. Chris Javier says, also, did you hear Bill Gates divorced his husband? Yeah, I did. Melido, they call him. That's funny because I think in Spanish that might actually mean something as well. Angel Martin says, look for daddy's goals. The only few females I've ever been close with were daddy's goals, and as a result, they didn't hate and mistreat men. That's a very good advice. Very good advice, actually. Angel Martin. Chris Javier, Angel has just given you the best advice. That's right. Look for girls that love their dad and that have a good relationship with their dad. Because I tended to go the other way, but then, you don't all have to be crusaders that go through the pilgrimage to fucking Jerusalem on their own, slashing heretics all the way there and back. That's kind of been my journey. It doesn't have to be your journey. Be smart. And also, I don't advise you to do things the way I did them. It's not a good way. It's not a smart way. Worked out great for me, and I don't regret most of it. But there's a lot of heartache, a lot of pain involved, you get a lot of cuts. It's like, oh, but look at you now. You've got a nice Templar uniform on. You know how to use a sword. You've got a nice armor. You're like one of the Templars. Oh, how great. And yeah, but, what they don't show you is like the guy was a mercenary for 35 years before that. He's covered in scars all over. He can barely put his armor on because his one leg is gimp, and he's like, yeah, I got here. I'm cool. You don't necessarily want to go through all that stuff to get there. And you don't have to get there. You don't have to be there. There's other Templars that got their different ways, and there's people that don't need to be Templars at all. So, sort of, you have to again, the key things are know yourself, and then Angel's advice is great advice. And Mandy says, I have an online relationship for 6 years. We will marry now. There you go. See, it works. Angel says, my father got custody of me. It's amazing because even when I was kind of libtarded, I was always anti-feminist and always thought highly of men. Well, your father's a lucky dude. That's good. David Perkins says, Chris Javier, I can guarantee you have every chance online. Women aren't attracted to profile pics or bios, so it's inherently rigged against you. What? I can guarantee you have very something chance online. Women aren't attracted to profile pics or bios, so it's inherently rigged against you. Even if everything is closed, you can still meet people in real life. I'm not sure if David meant to say, can I guarantee you have very little chance or every chance? I'm not sure. But the online app stuff, it's fine. If you're going to use that to select the people that you want to meet in real life, there's nothing wrong with that. I don't see a problem with it. And Angel says, I only recently identified that as the key thing my few female friends had in common when I was wondering why they never tuned into those why they never turned into those predatory abusive women even though liberal. Yeah. You see, women are essentially shaped by the men in their life. That is the natural order of things. So if they've got a dad that they love and they respect, then they're going to be good. I'm amazed by my daughter because of who she's lived with, and the fact that she clearly loves me very much, and that's saying something. And Pew and Bear says, congratulations to Amanda. I don't know many couples that I've met online. Pew and Bear says, boobs grow, have children. It's true. Chris Javier says, damn, I really want to move to Italy now. Well, there is a little kurganate, so save your money. I'm going to write a blog post about that. So very briefly, in order to move to Italy, you basically need to have about 10 grand. You need about 6, 7 in your bank account just to show that you can live. And I would suggest you need about 3 grand or so to pay for accommodation for a year in advance. And if you're a young single guy, you can easily, live on 7 grand for a year or whatever. And you have to make your visa application. It is great if you already have a job lined up. And we are in our little community, we're trying to do what we can to help people to do that when they're serious. There are people that want to move here that are of all different ages. Some guys just want to move here and I have an online business, or I'm going to be a day trader, or I'm self-employed, or I am a plumber. There's all sorts of different ways of doing it. But essentially, you need 10 grand. You need to do the paperwork. You need to get a fiscal code. And you need to be prepared to live with the unknown of Italian bureaucracy. It doesn't matter if you're Italian. It doesn't matter who you are. Italian bureaucracy is a mystery to all. And it's a pain in the ass, and it's always going to make you worry and stress. But there usually is always a way around it. You might have to jump 50 different hoops, but remember, paperwork is the devil's thing. Italy is a real cool country. That's why there's so much attention from it by obviously the devil that creates the bureaucracy. You just got to fight your way through it. But if you're a young guy, you're 18, whatever, work your ass off, save every penny, borrow, beg, and steal from your family if you need to. And if you want to move to Italy, get in touch. Be serious about your Catholicism, because if you're going to be part of the Kurganate, you have to be a proper Catholic, a proper sedevacantist. There will be an inquisition, so that we can dig out the fakes, the Morascos and the Moriscos, pretenders. proper sedevacantist means, proper, you understand what being a sedevacantist is. If you don't know what that is, you're not going to be able to fake it. And you got to be willing to work your ass off, because that's what we're all doing here. There's none of this, oh, I don't have any calluses on my hands because I work smart. No, I got cuts and bruises daily. I'm actually surprised I haven't lost a piece of limb already, because I'll tell you something. If you go into martial arts all your life, you're going to have injuries. You're going to have pretty bad injuries. There's a chance you get crippled or dead or whatever. You will have injuries if you do martial arts for years and years. Being a farmer, there's a good chance you're going to lose some bits of limb, an eye, die, get rolled over by a tractor, because there are so many implements, and there are so many farming tools, there are so many ways that things can go wrong that, like I said, good thing I still am in good shape and I've got good reflexes, because I tend to be somewhat contemptuous of all the health and safety things, but as I carry on doing this stuff, I'm becoming less contemptuous of it, because unlike the building industry in Europe now, which is like become ridiculous, but if you're cutting pieces of metal with like a little handheld jobby that doesn't switch off if it falls out of your hand, and or if you don't hold it properly, which again, I've never dropped it, but my neighbor, he's got a scar all down his arm because that's exactly what happened. Like, was on a ladder or some shit, and it flew up, and when it came down, it was still going. It like cut his arm completely open. Accidents happen. So I wear my, when I'm doing stuff, let's say most of the times I wear the goggles, which is stupid not to. It's for the sake of 30 seconds putting some goggles on, because that shit will fling little bits of metal, stone, or whatever straight into your eyeball. Why risk that, But you have to think ahead all the time, and pick up your tools. You forget your tool lying around, and my most loyal henchman is, if he's watching, you know who you are. Pick up your tools. Don't leave shit lying around, because if you don't step on it, one of the kids might, somebody else might. You might forget, trip over it. You might lose it. You might rust. You might get damaged. So, yeah, you got a situational awareness. Being a farmer, martial artist, and a soldier, I reckon, those are probably the 3 deadliest things. So. And Angel says, God wouldn't have told us to marry for life before sex if it can't work. I agree. There are some slightly technical points there of contention about that, because I don't know that it actually says that you cannot have sex at all before marriage. It gets pretty detailed, but I don't want to be a nitpicking Protestant about it or whatever. Generally speaking, it is accepted if a man has sex with a woman, then that becomes his wife. And I agree with that principle of things. And in fact, if I look back at my life, the first woman that I really had a proper relationship with, I was with her for a very long time. And it's just over time that I realized what I was looking for and what she was were 2 different things. And she realized the same thing, But again, that was due to sort of inexperience rather than bad blood or bad ideas on anybody's side. And Amanda Jones says, thank you. I like the joke that us both would be patron saints of long-distance relationships. Okay. Well, I don't know if you've been together for 6 years without actually physically being together. That's a bit weird. I don't know. I would hope that you've spent some time living together or being together, or at least in the same town or city or whatever. Like, Michael Pecker says, I won't eat the apple. I will juice it and drink it. You see, Michael Pecker? That's what I mean. You get the temptation. Chris Javier says, I'm in the mango situation. Well, that's a tough place to be, especially at age 18, when, your brain up here is only this big and your brain down there is about the same size. So It's a tough one. I would suggest that you, uh, if you haven't yet, read The Crusades of Iron Men and Saints, read The Great Siege, 1565, read my books on Catholicism, and see if that inspires you, if that aspect of being like a crusading Catholic gives you something more important to focus your attention on than a pretty girl with a really short skirt and a slutty attitude. That would be my best suggestion. Pale and Bear says, Chris Javier, don't walk around playgrounds creeping. That might be misunderstood, and Italians are really protective over children. Why would he go around playgrounds? No. And Chris responds that wasn't really part of my plans, but thanks for the advice. Yeah, Michael says don't creep around playgrounds, period. Yeah. Starting to wonder about you, Pale and Bear. How did you get your wife? I mean, we're not Muslims. We're not looking for 6-year-old wives, right? Gabrielle says, just remember, if you keep meeting the wrong girl, it's all your fault, always. Exactly right. Exactly right. And actually, I'm going to use that as a teaching moment because I definitely, I remember this woman once sent us like 50 questions that I want to ask men, and I replied to all of them. And one of them was like, why are you so attracted to, dramatic women? And like my facetious response was like, they scream louder when we fuck them. But the reality is that, I did have relationships with very beautiful women. Unfortunately, most beautiful women have had a lot of guys' attention from men and probably the wrong kind of attention. A lot of them had daddy issues. And I kept ending up with these really like pretty women that were probably sexually quite experienced in most cases, or at least willing to learn. And but mentally they were kind of a mess. And I will give Owen the credit for the joke that he says, I'd be with this chick and then she's crazy, and I'd be like, no, 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 I can't be with this girl. Then I meet another one, it's like, oh, she's cool. No, she's crazy too. And then I break up with her, and then the next one I'd be like, what are the chances they're only meeting crazy girls? And he was like, well, if you're gonna break up with somebody because they're crazy as a woman, I've got news for you. That's like moving apartment because it's got gravity, and it's kind of true. And that was kind of how I was in. But then I started to see a pattern because I went through a period where I went through a lot of women really fast. And it was like as soon as they did something that just I didn't like, I was like, okay, bang, next, 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 next. And I went through enough type of women, and then I'd get sick of women altogether, and I'd just be like by myself for like, a long period of time. I think sometimes it would even go to 2 weeks. Um, which, I think the longest time without you know, sex with some woman was about 6 weeks. That's a very long time. You got to keep in mind that, talking about dog years here. So, 6 weeks in dog time, that's you have to multiply by 7. You're talking about half a year. That's like 6 months. Yeah. So, but the thing is, like, I go through these cycles where I'm seeing 3, 4, 5 different women at a time, and I'm like, I'll get rid of all of them, and then I'd start again. But in each cycle there was like an improvement. And I remember the exact moment when it hit me that it was like what I was doing wrong. And it was like I was actually this lady, shall we say, that I picked up, that we got together, and she'd come home with me, and we were both pretty, shall we say, experienced at the sexual stuff. So we were actually on the opposite side of the bed, and we started undressing because we were going to go to bed. And I think this might have been the first time that we went to bed. I can't remember. I think it was the first time. So she wasn't. So that's how jaded it was. We weren't even like kissing and undressing each other. It was sort of like, okay, we're going to do this, right? Yeah, okay. So that's kind of brutal, you know. And I remember as she was undressing, I looked at her and I thought, wow, she's really hot. And I kind of felt myself, and I thought, no, 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 stop, don't go over that edge. Doesn't matter. She's really pretty. That's fine. Do what you're gonna do. Enjoy. Have fun. But don't immediately assume that you know. Don't get attached. Don't get like. And sure enough, I kept sort of my distance, not physically, unfortunately, or fortunately, or whatever. But and very quickly I realized, no, 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 no. This woman's a mess. You know, she's no good for a relationship. And and from that moment, it was like, oh, okay. Now I've started to understand I'm picking the wrong girls. Why is that? What am I seeing here? And then I started to realize that pattern. And then when I came across somebody that like didn't fit that pattern, I was like, oh, she must be the one. And she wasn't. And that taught me something again. So you see, if you go through things as a heathen, you got to hit every wall. Every wall bashes you in the face. You got to get every punch. And then after you've been punched from every direction, you're like, all right, I recognize all the punch now, and I can find out. But even then, you know, even my actual current wife, I mean, if you look at her history, she would be like somebody that you would advise people to stay completely away from. Um, but the thing is, because of who I am, because of how I am, and because of who she is and how she is, we kind of work because it's like we've both been through the wars, and so we get it. You know, if you've ever seen the film Sexy Beast, it's kind of a little bit that sort of, you know, I mean, my wife was never a porn actress or anything like that, you know, but um, the in Sexy Beast, the main guy was a criminal and the woman is was an ex porn star or something, but they really love each other. You know, it's really quite a sweet thing. Um, Actually, another film with Mel Gibson in it. That's a bit more. That's a bit more closer to home. Again, I think the woman in that one also was a prostitute, which again, not never been my wife's case. She's never been that type. That's never been one of her sins, let's say. But there's a line at the end that sort of encapsulates the sensation, where he's like, "Well, I don't know. It's all totally screwed up situation, you know." But and his last sentence as they go off together is like, "Well, maybe if I can learn to stop killing people and she can stop hooking, this might work out." You know, and it's kind of like it sort of fits because of the level of jaded life that we've both had for, you know, hers wasn't necessarily like a sexual thing, it was other things, you know, her family situation, friends, the people that she, you know, had around, or that sort of stuff. And I don't want to say too much, it's her story, not mine, whatever. But we've both been through a lot, enough, and also a bunch of people, and we kind of get it, you know. That's, yeah, she can put up with my crazy bit and I can put up with her crazy bit. um, Amanda Jones says that is an interesting take on the mango. David Perkins says, okay, avoid the fruit casserole at the whole Inquisitor's house. Even the Kiwis have been molested. Very good. Dude, if you see what my kids do to fruit, I don't think you'll even step into the house because they just go around and grab one bite. My little Viking prince, he's definitely a prince, because strawberries, he just eats the tip. Only the tip is good enough for him. Just eats the tip. And then, you know, as you get a little bit further into the strawberry, it gets a bit harder. He's like, discards it, you know, like, ah. And guess what I found out today? He does the same thing with watermelon. You know, you cut the wedge of watermelon, you give him a little piece of watermelon. He's like, oh yeah, I like that, Dad. Takes 2 bites from the tip. It's like, nah, give me another one. It's like clearly a blue blood. And, oh, Michael Pecker says, don't creep around playgrounds, period. And Piumber says, I have to, it's my job. LOL. Okay, now I'm really worried. Unless you're a security guard for like playgrounds,
You're starting to get a bad vibe off you. Angel says that she met her husband when she was still an atheist and he was the best I ever had. But what amazes me is that it can actually get even better after years of marriage and children. Exactly right. Exactly right. But that is the natural progression of a relationship. All the crappy shit should happen at first because you're still getting to know each other, all the bad bits. The longer you stay together, the better, deeper, and more cool it should get. That's how it works. And she says that she wishes people had a more optimistic view of monogamy, happier than I knew I could be. Yeah, exactly. My wife, even before I got with her, and I knew, we're kind of heading that way. Um, or even when we started going out, and it's like I had these ideas about, oh, I hope it would be at least this cool, and it's actually a lot better than that. It's cooler than what I could imagine. It's nicer than what I could imagine. It's better than what I could imagine. That's not to say that there aren't, days or times when we argue or we have a bad day or whatever. Of course there are, because we're human. But overall and over time, we can both see, oh, it's getting better. Oh, that's nicer. Oh, this is cooler. Oh, we're getting closer here, and I mean, the 3 kids, new country, she doesn't speak the language. It's all very tough, for both of us, but more so for her. And she's just soldiering through it, and not just do that, but like she's a great mom. She really is, and she had no one ever helped teach her any of that. Really, she's learning by herself. She goes along, and so it's awesome. And Douglas says, I thought I could never care for someone more than my wife. Then my first son was born, and it changed everything. I cannot imagine the selfishness of a father that leaves his children. Yeah, that is, yeah, exactly right. That is the order. That's what I said on one of the other streams. Like, that's why Bohemond is one of my favorite guys, because like when the Muslims put his own father at the bottom of the castle walls, of Antioch's walls, and they said, "Oh, if you don't let us in, we're going to kill your father." And he just looked down and said, "My father's lived long enough," and walked away. And the Muslims were so shocked they didn't even kill his dad; they just let him go. you know, and that's what if that situation ever happens, I pray to God that that's exactly the response my own son would give. My father's lived long enough. Turn around, walk off. That'll be like, yes, that's my boy. you know, and yeah, you can't really appreciate. I mean, like again with my wife, it's like it's obvious that if there was ever the horrific choice of like, oh, who to save, you save the kids. That's just, we both know that, you know. Felix Xavier says the first girl I dated had problems with her father. She recently sent my school an email saying I'm racist and homophobic. That's a tough one, dude. That is a tough one. Because that's what those crazy bitches do. And you think that's a bad one? Smile and enjoy. Because imagine if you'd had kids with her, and then she says that you are, sexually abusing your child or some evil fucking shit like that. Because women, they will do every fucking nasty thing under the sun. You know, it is the men that are the romantic sex. Females are worldly creatures. So I think that the best way is read SJW's Always Lie for how to fight back with that. And if she sent that email to who in your school, to everyone in your school, to your teachers or whatever, I would respond to that, but you check with your parents or lawyers or somebody you trust, or even a teacher that you trust, and just say it out. It's like fight back. I'm not going to advise you on what to tell you, and I don't know why she did that, but I'm just giving a hypothetical, an example, right? So she says, "Oh, he's racist and homophobic," and maybe she said that because you didn't want to be with her any longer, or because you didn't want to do anal. I'm just saying. I don't know what it was,
But if it was me in that situation, I'd definitely fight back. I'm like, well, she's saying that just because I didn't want to be the third guy in the train that she was pulling, or whatever the situation was, you know. Again, just hypotheticals. But you get where I'm going, right? Like, fight back. Don't. I don't know what the laws in Canada are, or whatever, but you know, you can always, and I don't know what the implications are for you in the school, so I'm not giving you any advice here. You got to figure that one out. I can't give you advice on the topic because I don't know. But it is, she's obviously trying to humiliate you, and the way to fight back is humiliate her right the fuck back. You know, stand your ground. Um, you know, I don't know why she comes up with the idea that you're racist and homophobic. Is it because, you know, you didn't want to get banged by her black friend who's gay? I don't know. You know, I'm just saying. You didn't want to be part of a homosexual menage a trois with her, like filming, you know, that she came up with. I don't know what the idea is. But fight back would be my advice. Whichever way you can, that is good for you. Ultimately, you want to be able to stand your ground on things that are you know, that are real, that are true. Your Catholicism, your reality, your the truth. So an angel agrees that very much so, and females will follow no matter what. Now they're following everything except strong, godly husbands. I don't think that that's necessarily true. Because if you become a strong, godly husband after you've been married with somebody, that's a different situation. But if you start off being, nah, I'm a crusader, whatever. Let's say Chris. Let's take Chris, right? Let's make a hypothetical Chris. I'm not saying this is his situation. I don't know his situation. I don't know his life. I don't know what it is. He's 18 and he's like, yeah, I don't agree with homosexuality. I don't want any of that shit near me or my kids. I think they're dangerous for children. Um, I like sticking around with people of my own ethnicity because I get along with them better. I got nothing personally against that specific individual or that specific individual, but I don't want to go live with Eskimos or Pygmies or Saudi Arabians or Chinese for that matter. I like living with people that are similar to me. I've got my same cultural values, my same upbringing, and so on and so forth. Nothing wrong with that. And if you're going to call me, you know, a racist homophobe because of that, well, then I'm going to call you a fucking retard and a cuck, you know, and a child molesting cuck. If that's what, you know, if you think that it's okay to have sex with a 9-year-old, well, as far as I'm concerned, you're a pedophile. So, you know, fight back. And if you're standing your ground on things that you truly believe, they might set you on fire. They might ruin your fucking life to a certain extent or other, but you're not going to regret it because you're like, no, that is who I am. So don't, you know, I would suggest you fight back. And also, if you start off that way, so you're now 18, you're going through this shit, you've survived this shit one way or another. You're now 26, you know, 7 years past, and maybe you've moved to Italy, maybe you haven't, maybe you're still where you are, whatever. The women that you meet, you know, you're on a first date, and they're going to be like, oh, well, like, so what do you do? And your first question is going to be like, what's your take on feminism? And they're like, well, you know, women get paid less. You're like, thanks. Pay for your own coffee. We're done. And you're not going to waste any time. And when a woman goes, no, but what do you mean? Don't women get paid less? Wait, why are you leaving? You're like, no, that's nonsense. Haven't you looked at the maths? Haven't you like done this? And if she's like, no, well, I don't know. I'm like, what? You think men and women are equal? Well, I think they should be equal under the law. At which point you can, you know, ask, but really, do you believe that? It's a very interesting take. It sounds like you want to have justice, but if men and women are not equal, do you really want them to be held to the same standards? Because there's a reason that women don't get 20 years in jail when they murder somebody, but men do. So which is it? Do you want to be treated equal? I don't think so. Because, you know, if a guy speaks to me a certain way, he's going to get a broken nose. If a woman speaks to me the same way, I don't want to punch her in the nose. but I would if it was a man. Do you really want to be treated equal? I don't think so. You want to go work in minefields and oil fields? And don't think so. And then if she's receptive to that, it's an easy sift, right? It's an easy sift. You can figure out who you want to actually hang out with, whose ability to change. Now, they've all been brainwashed, so you're not going to pick one up that says, oh, yep, stay at home, mom, that's me, I want to do that, pop out 5 kids, and let my husband lead me. Look, miracles happen. Maybe you meet one like that, I don't know. But what I'm saying is generally that's not going to be the way it happens. So prepare. Yeah. Douglas says that my wife and I married pretty young, and we have fought through so much already. It's worth it. Exactly. I'm mature. I did not marry a man who had divorced parents either. Yeah, well, you see, I got all of that shit in my background too. So, Chris Cavier says, well, I'm in Canada, so people could see it as a bad thing and have ended up in jail for it. Oh yeah, fuck. Get the fuck out of Canada is my first suggestion. Yeah. Alicia says, absolutely. I'm not sure. Michael Pecker says, how much easier is moving to Italy if you already have a European citizenship? I don't think it's particularly easier or more difficult. I don't know. Look it up, but I don't think it makes a difference. We have been together for some time, 3 times. I will go back to Europe now again. Okay. Alicia says, that's weird because my husband tells me to stop screaming because it doesn't do anything for him. Oh, Alicia, you got married? That's good news. Is it the same Alicia? I don't know. Well, maybe you scream too loud right next to his ear. I don't know. It's tell him to. I was just gonna suggest maybe you hold your mouth shut just to make it a bit more fun. I don't know. It's up to you guys what you do in the bedroom. Joy Boomer says, "Yep, I did it." Okay, I'm not sure what that refers to. And Amanda says that my fiance and I went through the wars too. We became stronger and we have a high standard of what is right and wrong. Honesty helped us heal and love each other more. We live in 2021 crazy world. That's right. Alice 16 says, some can learn by ear, others must pee on the electric fence to find out. There you go. Hello, Ben. P1 says, I am a dad, technically not around playgrounds, but directly on. Okay, that's good. Okay, I get it. That makes sense, finally. Nick Smith, anyone watch Jesse Lee Peterson? Women have no love, they get it from men who get it from God. I see it every day. Yeah, I don't know. Jesse Lee Peterson is, of course, a heretic. He is not a Catholic, so although I quite like him, he's got some things wrong. Bohemian Stories always gets me. He's awesome. Bohemian was a cool dude. He's also the only guy who didn't give exactly his word to the Emperor of the East because he knew that he was going to get betrayed because he'd known about him from before. And then, like, as soon as the Emperor betrayed him, he said, oh, all right, is that how you're going to do? I'm just going to take Antioch for myself. And he did. And the way he did it is just, his whole story is brilliant. Plus, he was a huge guy. And there's a description, I think, by the daughter of the emperor, which you can tell. She probably had a little, who says, this guy is massive, he's huge, he's good looking, blonde, I think he was. And he's got an intelligence, an aquiline intelligence that is like a predator smiling, just waiting for us. He just sounds like a cool guy. Payback, the movie with Mel Gibson. That's right. Thank you, Alicia. You got it. Nick Smith says, can you imagine World War I if it was all chicks? Yeah, it wouldn't have happened.
But okay, I've been going an hour and a half, which is longer than I wanted to go, and I actually want to try and get to bed at a half decent time, maybe watch something with my wife. So thank you all for being here. I hope it was of some use, and as usual I went about an hour longer than I wanted to go, but there you go. I enjoy communing with you guys. So Douglas Jones says, according to EA, I don't know who EA, it might be a games company, it was all blacks and women, World War One. Yeah. Okay. Have a good night. And Chris, if you can get out of Canada, maybe seriously consider getting out of Canada. It is the gayest country on earth. So good luck to you all, and have a good evening. Have a good week. I will let you see you guys soon. I'm gonna try and do more streams a bit more regularly if I can. Good night all.